Right, so there we go. So good afternoon, Robert F. Lyons. How are you, sir?
Yes, thank you very much. I'm doing well. And it's just the beginning of the year. I like that.
Nice. What's the weather like in sunny LA?
Well, it's been very cloudy, except for yesterday. It was beautiful. It was sunny and warm, no rain. And we've had a lot of rain. We could use it. We need it. But when it's just cloudy, it's kind of gloomy.
All right.
Looking, but it's beginning of the year. We'll go through a lot of change.
Yeah.
Climatic. Yeah.
Well, I was reminded of the Steve Martin film LA Story, where he's a weatherman and he just records the news records the weather because it's just going to be the same every day. He says.
Oh, that was a great movie.
Yes.
That was a great film. Where's same day every day?
Yes, and he just drives to his neighbor's house, which is one house over.
Yeah, drive. That's very funny. It's very funny.
But
I just had a thought. I have some British friends, and I'm wondering if they'll catch this in any way. And they're also actors as well. Just interesting.
Have you ever been to the UK?
Oh yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yes. Not for any really long stay, but yes. I took a holiday there for a little bit, many years ago. And I've been around Europe a couple of times, but not a lot.
Okay.
A few times. Enough to say I want to go back.
No worries. Right. Everything seems to be in order. We've got some people in the chat, and one of them sent me some questions to ask you later on. So
that's fine.
We'll get to that. But yes, so you've done a lot of television and a lot of films, I see.
Yes.
So you've done, we'll start with I Dream of Jeannie. Is that one of your early roles on TV?
Very early. I mean, it's like I had a couple of lines, but I was under contract to that studio, Screen Gems. That goes all the way back to the late 1960s.
Nice.
And I was actually under contract to them, so I did a lot of parts where you begin and get a couple of lines, but nothing spectacular, except that you have done things that now are history.
Indeed.
Well, what's funny about it is that I'll get residuals from these early films and TV shows. It's hysterical. I mean, I did a movie years ago with Gregory Peck.
Ah, yes, I was going to ask you about that. That's the I forgot the Shootout in 1971, where you slapped Gregory Peck, and he slapped you.
Yes. Oh boy, that was a whole thing that happened. It was terrible. Because I really hit him.
Oh, right.
And you rehearse these things in film, but sometimes something gets wrong and a mishap happens. And I caught him. I really caught him coming around. Caught him with a fist.
Oh.
And fortunately, there's only one take. And here, I mean, I was still a young actor learning, and I got to tell you, I knew I hit him, and he stayed in the scene, and he's such a professional. I can laugh now. But at the time, it was not funny. I'm standing there going, oh my God, I've just punched Gregory Peck in the head. And he finished the scene, and the director yelled, cut, print that. There was only one, thank God. And his entourage, come on, he said, the kid really caught me. And oh God. And they're looking at me now with such disapproval. And about an hour later, I went over to a trailer and knocked on his door, and he went, hey, Bob, how you doing? I said, oh,
nice.
I am so sorry. He said, forget it. Don't worry about it, blah, blah, blah. And I said to him, no, you must understand. I hit Gregory Peck in the head, and he laughed. he had a great sense of humor, and he was a delight to work with, a full professional man. And he
Yes.
understood that accidents happen, and it was one of those things that it just chews on you, it just bothers you that you just feel unprofessional, especially with such I mean, he's a movie star. Let's face it, he was an Oscar-winning movie star. So, delightful man, I must say.
Well, yes, that's why I watched the shootout last week or the week before, and I thought that looks quite real, that punch. But yeah, and like you say, it was. So, but I'm guessing he didn't. When he gets to slap you later, he didn't do it for real.
I don't even remember it. There was one day where some excitement broke out on the set. I don't know what happened. It's like technically things were going bad. And at the end of the movie, when he catches up to me, he starts putting things on my head, shooting them off, trying to get me to draw my gun. And the first thing they put on my head was a wax apple. And they have charges in them because he doesn't shoot them off, as we know in reality. And when he fires the gun, they set the charge off, which explodes the apple. But the explosion hurt my head, and I was furious. It didn't bleed, but it left like a crescent mark, and it was sore. And I went, I'm not standing there. And the director, Henry Hathaway, he started standing there and they're blowing things up. He's showing me how easy it is, and they kept blowing things off his head. I don't give a damn. I'm not doing it again, because I was hurting and I was angry that I'm, feeling this thing that went off on my head. I said, "You want me to put another bomb on my head?" He says, "Watch, kid, watch." And they blew a glass off or an apple. I mean, it was just hysterical. and other things that happened in that same. Anyway, after a long time, I knew I'd do it, but I just. Boy, I didn't like it, and I kept waiting for that second explosion. It never happened. Meaning, it didn't explode in a downward action and cause pain. Thank God, because I'd have really. And it was something they had to have in the film. It's not something you can cut out. I mean, there's always scenes or moments in films you can cut out. There always is. And you hope the editor doesn't miss the good stuff.
Yes.
Which I'm sure they cut out the first one. Anyway, that was funny moments.
It's a very good Western. Still holds up after all these years.
I just got a residual, Gareth. I just got a $50 residual. You know how old that film is?
It's 50 something.
We filmed it in 1970.
Right.
I still think I'm a kid, so that was 50 some years ago.
Yeah. But it's not the only Western. You've done Bonanza, Gunsmoke, Outcasts, and did you enjoy the cowboy?
Yeah, I did. I had to. The first thing I did out here was a mistake. It was called The Loner with a wonderful actor, Lloyd Bridges. It's a half-hour Western. And there weren't too many half-hour Westerns that did any good. There was just something about it. Half-hour didn't work for them. Not like Gunsmoke.
Oh, yeah.
So, anyway, they gave me a horse. I told them I could ride. This was the first thing I went up for when I got out here in 1965, and I got the part. Why, I don't know. I guess I told them I could ride, and it was a bit of a fib. So my friends took me out riding, but I didn't get how powerful horses were, and I was a little bit afraid of them. And the horses you rent to ride around in the park are very kind of barn sour, what they call barn sour. They don't want to go anywhere.
Okay.
They just plod along. The horses they have on the set are brought in by wranglers And these are spirited horses, ready to run, and they know, if you know anything about riding, and this thing was huge, what they call 17 and a half hands. I didn't even know what that meant. And he took off. I scattered a crew. I mean, it was just the most embarrassing moment. Because they took the horse away from me, put me on a stepladder. So, true story. And then they film upwards so that it looks like you're sitting on the horse, because they can show the shot of you sitting on the horse, and then they want to move in, and the ladder doesn't move around like a horse. You know.
Movie magic.
Yeah, movie magic. Put them on a ladder. And I didn't know that. I didn't know that's what you did at the time. I thought, Jesus, this is a hell of a punishment, putting me on a horse, putting me on a ladder now, so I don't scare and scatter a crew. Anyway, it was always an adventure, I must say. I learned that way. Don't tell them fibs. Tell them exactly what's going on, and everyone will be safe.
Oh,
so
cool.
It was a good learning in that sense.
Yeah. Okay. Because you're also in one of my favorite TV shows of all time, Quincy M.E.
Wow. Yeah. Funny that you mention it. Right. I still get letters from people and or fan mail, and just before the end of the year, somebody sent me. It was a doctor. I thought it was funny. A doctor who loved the show.
Oh yeah.
And I never know where these play. They play all the time. Our streamers, you can get them off TV now. I've done so much TV.
Yes.
And that's how I know they've been playing them, because I'll get a residual. And here's a doctor wanting to know what it was like to work with Jack Klugman. And
he beat me to it.
Yeah, he did. I don't even remember much about it. Frankly, I don't know that I had a lot to do with Klugman.
No, I don't think you did, because I think it's Sam's doing that case that you're in, where you're under suspicion for an attack, and they've got the evidence that says you did it, but it turns out to be someone's using teeth that were molded in prison. And
yeah,
they were using that to leave the mark.
That part I remembered, and I was lucky about even getting that part. A director friend of mine, I just called him to say hello. What are you doing? Blah blah. He said, "Well, I'm doing a Quincy." And after a minute, he said, "Wait a minute. The guest star is somebody who could play. Let me call up the producer." And he called back. He said, "You're going to do the part." And I'm like, "Oh, great! I'm glad I called you." You know. Well, I mean, you would think friends would think of friends, but directing a show can be overwhelming.
Yeah.
Of what you have to do in a week, and you don't just think of about the actors and who's going to play them. You've got locations to look at, and camera angles, and every other damn thing. So it can be overwhelming. And by just saying, "Oh, hi," he went, "Oh, Christ, you're right. Let's go." So it actually solves a problem for them when they can get it cast, and then cast with somebody that they trust and will know they'll give them a decent
yeah, nice.
So that I remember more than what the show was about. You know, it was like getting a job just for making a phone call, which has happened with me quite a lot in a way. Just calling friends, saying hi, and saying, "Hey, Jesus, I'm glad you called. There's something here you can do." And I went, "Okay, I'll do it." Yeah.
That's great. Because I'll get to the question my friend sent me. It's about an episode of the A-Team you did. It was called A Nice Place to Visit. I think it was in the first season. So Jeff at 101 Bronson's asked, do you remember any of the shooting you did of that one? It's where the A-Team come into town for a funeral and you're a garage attendant and working for the bad guys and trying to stop the team from leaving and taking them out.
Well, what I remembered was my first film called Pendulum was with George Papard a few years earlier. And now I went in and I remember the character was like, I mean, he had a subcarpet mentality, not very bright.
Yeah.
As a character. And there was Mr. T on it. and I actually had more fun with him because he's a wonderful guy. And all that gold that he constantly wore was real. That was his.
That's heavy.
If you touched it, he went, no, like that. So I would get him and go like I was going to steal his gold. He was just a delight to work with. And George, I don't think I had any thing to do directly with him that would have involved this, but hi, hey Bobby, how you doing? Blah blah. He hadn't seen me in years.
Okay.
And when we worked together in the feature, we became good friends there for a while. And that was my first film, so I was thrilled to do a movie. My God, for Columbia, my first two films.
Nice.
Pendulum and another one called Getting Straight, which were both done out of that studio. So then, the guys were nice to work with. Most of the time, films and TV, everybody's terrific to work with most of the time.
Sure.
I will stress that most of the time. It is. Once in a while, something's not working well.
Okay.
And, for whatever reason. Personalities, who knows? Who cares, really? Except for yellow journalism. They love to, point that out.
Yeah.
It's not any different than any other field. It's just we get the news, bad or good.
That is true.
And the printing on it. So anyway, that was a fun show. Those were good guys. And,
Nice.
What's wonderful is that a lot of people you come and you're meeting for the first time, and they've seen you and they like your work, or you've seen them and you can have something to talk about, and then you're off and running, and after a few days you're a new family.
Yeah, that's nice. Because you did, well, which was uncommon at the time, you did films, big films in the 80s and 90s and the 70s, and then also TV. You were switching between them monthly by the look of it.
Yeah, you're back and forth, but there were also in that period there was what they called movies for they were called MOWs, movies of the week.
Yes.
Or TV, especially for TV. And a lot of those also were at the same time, if they were an hour and a half, 2 hours long, they would be pilots for a potential series. I did quite a few of those.
Okay.
And one went on for many years. Rookies, the police. They wanted, they wanted me to go on. It was probably one of the mistakes I made of going, no, thank you. And, it went on for 5 years. And I played the lead rookie.
Okay.
On that show. It was a very good show. It just was. It just was directed well. I had worked with that director several times. And it was another hit, so it went on for Aaron Spelling, who was one of the better, most prolific television producers in LA at that time. And TV was different at that time.
Yeah.
Too. Just was. There was only 3 stations to begin with. Here in America, there was ABC, NBC, and CBS. So if you did a big role on a hit show, the industry could only watch itself on one of 3 stations. So they would watch the hit shows themselves. So overnight, you did a couple of guest stars. The industry knew who you were.
That's cool.
Or part of it, anyway.
Yeah.
Now, what is there, 1,000 channels?
At least.
On a series for 10 years, and people go, who? I never heard of him. And they go, oh my God. So there's big differences in today's television than when I started. I mean, when I was a little boy, TV was live TV. It was all live TV. Even the commercials were live. So any mistakes were made on TV, you saw them. There were always bloopers in commercials, particularly.
Yeah.
It was hysterical.
That's a lot of pressure.
Oh, yes. and actors were running from stage to stage to do, coffee commercials and this commercial and a refrigerator commercial. The famous one there is the door wouldn't open on a refrigerator.
I don't know if that's good for the advert or not. That people remember that because something went wrong.
Oh yeah, they've actually got tapes of food. They're called bloopers, of course. They're bloopers. They're the mistakes that were made at the time. But then there's nothing they could do about it. They didn't have any delays. They didn't have a 10-second delay. Whatever error was made was right there, especially with the commercial. Like, there was that thing, a Timex a watch, and they put the damn watch on the outboard motor, the thing that spins the rust. And when they turned it on and then turned it off, the watch was gone. They couldn't find it. It was just gone. So,
not a good idea.
Yeah, it's hysterical because the audience is just laughing hysterically. What are you going to do? The watch was missing. And the whole point of it was to put it on this outdoor motor and show you that even after that, the darn thing for Timex would run. And now the thing was gone. I don't know. It's just hysterical. It's just funny. I don't know. It was a wonderful period. I grew up with that kind of stuff on TV.
Did you ever do any adverts yourself?
Commercials?
Yeah.
I did one.
Okay.
I don't know that. I don't know that I have a look that's good for selling. I don't know. I did so many gangster roles. They expect me to sell Uzis or rifles or something. No, I did a beer commercial for Anheuser-Busch. Budweiser.
Okay.
They're one of their beers. It wasn't Budweiser, and it was fun. I got it only because the movie we were talking about, Shootout. When I went in for the role, I told them, I said I never did any commercials before, but I did films and television. And the guy looked at me and said, "What films have you done? Like, who are you lying to?" And I said, "Fortunately for me, Shootout had been on the night before."
Right.
I said, "Shootout last night was on for me." I went, "Oh my God, now I recognize him. I'm sitting in front of this egghead for 10 minutes and he didn't recognize me." And yet he's chosen to hire actors. I mean, that's the kind of thing people don't see in Hollywood. They don't see it.
Right.
They never hear it. So of course they gave it to me. It was just to stand around. And then the actor they hired to say the words, he couldn't talk. So I said, "Gee, let me do it when we get out of here." So I brought me in to do the words now. And I did it. And I made a lot of money. So I thought, okay, I can do it. For the right commercial, I could do it. So it was fun. I had one commercial, beer.
Nice. But
well, my father was Irish and he liked his beer, so I guess for the Irish, they went, "Yay, he's doing it right." It wasn't a Guinness, but
it was near enough. Isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, I was going to discuss your look because you look different in everything you do. It's either you got mustache, you got beard, you got long hair, you got short hair, and it's under your eyes. I think I can recognize you.
Wow. Well, it's funny you say that because I had a producer by the name of Brian Hickox.
Okay.
He gave me two wonderful parts, and he was over at my house one night. I was having dinner with him. I was making dinner. And he was watching this demo tape I had, 13 little episodes. And he kept saying, "Who's this?" I said, "Brian, that's me. It's my demo." And he said, "This is where your problem is. They think this is 13 guys." I said, "That's what I am, a character actor. What do you want?"
Yeah.
I can do leads. I can do leading man. But to me, it was all, it was just all character. And I've always brought those roles out to make them explosive, where I don't know, some people would just sit around. I don't know if people realize that actors have a lot of choice of how you play your part.
Okay.
In most cases on television, they never say a word. They say action and cut. Nice job. Thanks.
Okay.
That's why you get the job. I actually had a nice man, and Michael Priest, a wonderful director. And I said, Michael, I can do this, that. And he said, Robert, the reason you were hired is that we didn't have to have this discussion. I'll point the camera in that direction and do what you want to do. But, oh, that was sweet. What a nice thing to say.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So, I was, I thought I was being correct and saying, look, I can do this or that. It's up to you. And I thought, wow. I mean, there are some directors that put a tighter control on that, or they have something they want to say, and they're right too. There's as many ways to direct as there are directors. Some are really good, and some, well, they shouldn't talk to actors because they don't know what they're talking about.
Was it Hitchcock?
They talk a different language.
Yeah, Hitchcock described actors as cattle, didn't he?
Well, yeah, but he was British. And he had that British tone. I'm kidding, it's very funny.
Sure.
But I don't know that he ever said it. He denies it. He said, what I said was, and then he said something else. He denies something. Wasn't a cattle prod, but he says, that's not what I said. What he said was worse. But I think that was his humor. I don't know. I never met the man and never got to work with him.
Yeah.
I love his work.
Yeah. He did seem to make good movies, didn't he?
He did very well. Boy, he really could scare the pants off you. Wow. Psycho, give me a break. He did things that nobody had done before. Taking one of the stars and killing her off in the first 15 minutes of the movie, that was never... What? How can that be? And he did it.
Yeah. But, I can say, you've directed a film yourself, Beyond Fear.
Well, actually, I didn't. I don't know why she puts my credit on it. I may have suggested some things and what have you. Her boyfriend, I can't even think of his name, this German guy, he actually did. I mean, I didn't get along with this guy. I just said, whoa. I would set something up, or he was like producing. He would change it. So I said, that's it, goodbye.
Okay.
But at that time, they put my name. There's another film I did called Dreamers, but I have no idea. As far as I know, it only played in Germany.
Right.
I have no idea if it played anywhere else. And I never saw the guy, and he owes me money anyway.
Oh, shame. Yeah, I can see that, but there's not much details on it.
There's other parts of Hollywood that people don't want to know about. But it's all an adventure, Gareth. I mean, I got to say, I've loved every minute of it, and looking for more. I've also written and sold. So
yeah, nice.
I did.
Yeah, I see. You're written and directed. It says for Beyond Fear, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, I wrote a film, but that had to do with a train and it had to do with nuclear, but it was really Americana. But they changed it. They bought it. Disney bought it, but they changed it into gangsters stealing a train for money.
Okay.
But all they wanted was my train. But they paid an awful lot of money to get that train.
Oh, well, good.
But I was brought up in trains, and I liked it. And I went down the train yard, and it's funny. You just look around at diesels and trains and what have you with an idea of a train being stolen, and the ideas just would come in a flourishing way. It's like, wow, I can do this with it, I can do that with it, because you actually see what you can do. So that plus your ideas and imagination, that's for me, you start to sit down and you can write some kind of heavy scenes. I liked the show. It was nice, and I wish they had left it alone. But
yeah, it's a shame.
Yeah, well, it's like directing. You can't be a group directing. Writing is not a group thing. It's an individual thing. And sometimes the group gets a hold of it, and they want to do the editing, and then I sit and I watch a movie where there are very good actors and some good scenes, and yet the whole thing isn't holding together. And having known I've had some great scenes removed, or scenes that I would have used in a film, and I'm looking, going, nah, somebody got in here and edited. Somebody here that doesn't know movie making, what it takes to really edit a movie. That's a whole lot of art form. If you've done it for a while, it's amazing what you realize the amazement of what you can do if you understand telling a story with film. There are rules, and there are things you can do. You can't believe what you could change. You can change people's whole ideas on just knowing the rules of filmmaking and how to place film together and breaking those rules. You can break them, but you better know what you're doing when you're doing it. It's fascinating. It's absolutely fascinating.
Definitely. Now you've done some work for Canon Films as well, haven't you?
Yes.
Did you ever get to meet the two producers as they are?
Yeah. Menachem.
Yeah.
He met me after Platoon Leader. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, with Michael Dudikoff.
Yes, we shot it in South Africa.
Okay.
And he didn't hire me. Aaron did. Aaron was shooting his first film. Aaron Norris, Chuck Norris's brother.
Yeah.
And we became good friends. And he had seen a film I did with Don Johnson called, I got him to see it, Ceasefire, which was written by a Vietnam vet. It was about vets after the war and the difficulty they had.
Yeah.
It was a pretty good independent film.
Nice.
We shot it in Miami. Anyway, he was the one. He had actually did stunts for me on a show over here, Perry Mason, a 2-hour Perry Mason. And a year later, I went to see him, and he wanted me because I was supposed to be a little older than the other guys.
Yeah.
And I played the sergeant, and he loved my work. And Menachem discovered me there. Jesus Christ. I mean, he really wow. I know he wanted me for another film, but I was off doing something else. And I had some problem with an agent that handled Dudikoff and also knew Menachem or dealt with him. I don't know. Somehow this film that was being shot in Israel, and I wasn't crazy about going there, but I wound up not getting it and never found out. And when you never find out, it always feels something went down and you weren't there to hear it.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, suspicious, that one.
Well, that happened a few times. And I'm going, you can just smell something else is going on here. Somebody else got in here and talked somebody out of something or into something. I don't know. It's you really got to have people who are extremely supportive in this business. And it works.
Okay.
They are.
Oh, cool.
I've been there. I've had people that are so strong on your side that that's it. They move mountains for you. I did a film called Dark Night of the Scarecrow.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Have you ever seen it?
Yes, I've seen that, yeah, with the...
most people don't know that's me. I had the second lead in it with Charlie Durning. And people don't recognize it. I've got friends that saw that recently. And it took them halfway through the film going, which one is Bobby? It's the truth. My wife just told me about it. She was talking to her friend Amanda, and she said, we didn't know that was him until the end of the film. I'm like, wow, that's a statement.
Yeah, I think it's a good thing. I don't know, that they just see the character, not the actor.
Well, yeah, I don't know. There was a comment made about me. I did an interview for this group over here, Gene Autry Museum, recently. And one of the persons that described me and knew my work said something similar to you, that you played these characters, you don't recognize it. And he said he was sort of the Gary Oldman of the 70s on TV. He did with Gary. And I thought that's fair. I'm not saying that it was the acting Gary is a tremendous, powerful actor that his stuff got a lot of people see it. A lot of times you do a movie, nobody sees it.
Yeah.
So it can be powerful as hell, but if nobody sees it, so what? It doesn't have the effect that maybe it should have, and it had a greater audience. But I took that as a compliment because I worked with Gary, and I think he's sensational. And when I saw him do Churchill, within the first 5 minutes, I went, there's his Oscar right there, in bed, drinking brandy and smoking a cigar. Well, I knew him, and at one time he wanted to do a film I wrote. I thought we were going to do it. We worked on it quite a lot. And when he was in America, he was flying all over the place. But we got along, and we would laugh over stuff. We had a similar sense of humor on outrageous things, particularly with movie making. The film that I had written was about two guys making a movie. I had no idea what they were doing.
Okay.
So there's just destruction everywhere. and of course, at the end, it gets bought, of course, because it's just, that's Hollywood. Anyway, but it never got made.
Yeah, that's a shame.
Well, it's available. And it just has humor in it. It has humor in it of I don't know, we both love it when you see things on sets that shouldn't be, but you just have to laugh because it just was not. I'll give you a quick example.
Okay.
We did shoot out, but if you remember, the guy that I shoot at the bar, Jeff Corey, was in a wheelchair, an old-fashioned 1800s wheelchair.
Yeah.
So when I shoot him, the director, Hathaway, had told the grips, put a wire on the back of it and pull it down the hole. When I fire him, shoot and pull the thing, and they went, okay. So I draw and shoot, and they pulled on this thing, and it just went backwards. You know. And to hear Hathaway screaming, no, not like that. Just, I mean, you're on the floor with what these guys did. He said, pull it, and they pulled it all right, but it wasn't supposed to. And I thought, if they had made that Western and put everything in it that shouldn't be, it would have been a riot satire. It would have been something like the things, shooting the stuff off my head. There were other things that happened towards that are just outrageous. So Gary and I would exchange the different things that we observed over the years, and we would be on the floor because it can get so serious, and afterwards you're laughing because it's like people will say the damnedest things at those times, and it's like the bloopers when you're making a scene and somebody says something, and it goes wrong, and then everyone breaks up because it's so off the wall, but there's something healthy about it that you don't get angry or nothing. I mean, it was just funny to see that these guys, these grips, pulled that wheelchair.
We won't be able to watch that the same now.
That thing careening down that hall backwards with Jeff Corey's body bobbing back and forth. It was just too silly. Just too silly, He just wanted it to move a little, so it looked like the bullet made the chair pull back, Anyway, things like that. So Gary and I would laugh hysterically and exchange stories about various movies.
Nice.
And I was so far. I knew he was going to win an Oscar for Churchill or whatever the hell it was called.
Yeah.
I mean, he can withstand doing 4 or 5 hours of makeup. I don't know if I could stand that.
Yeah.
I got to tell you, it's got to be one of the most boring things in the world. I've never had to do it to that extent. 4 or 6 hour wake up thing. I don't know. I can't stand it.
No, I can't. Yeah, when you hear the stories that they're 7 hours in makeup just to put it on, and then another 3 hours to take it off, you think, well, that's most of the day gone already.
Yeah, and he's done those kind of roles that demand unbelievable makeup. You know.
Yeah, Dracula and Hannibal. He uncredited in Hannibal when he's the guy with the face that's been eaten off or whatever it is.
Well, he did Dracula.
Yeah.
Count Dracula. I mean, that whole Dracula makeup had to be outrageous.
Yeah, because he's a whole bat at one point, isn't he? And then the old man, and then everything.
Yeah, but he came up with choices in his acting that were superb.
Yeah.
And he did another American film where he played an Irish gangster. In other words, New York City years ago on 10th Avenue, it was a lot of Irish, what the hell did they call it? 10th Avenue in New York City. I lived a block away from it. Hell's Kitchen.
Oh,
It was called Hell's Kitchen early on. And these boys were bad boys. I mean, they were all in and out of jail. They were accused of robbery, murder. They were their own mafia. They were bad. Books have been written on them. A book was called Westies. And then he did, I forgot what the hell the name of the movie was. He was sensational. He played this American gangster with who the other actor, I forget actors' names sometimes here. Ed Harris played his older brother. And I should have played that part because Gary and I have enough similarity.
Sure.
Ed is a very good actor.
Yeah.
I just knew that was my part. There's 2 or 3 parts I've seen over the years. I'm like, nah, that's my part. Should have been my part. I knew what to do with it. You just knew what to do with it. And
no, I bet.
I'm sure there's people looked at mine and went, nah, I should have done that part, you know. But that one, when I met him, I said, you got screwed. First thing, whoops, I'm sorry I haven't put that on the air, but I said, you should have gotten an Oscar. I was surprised that he was not nominated for that film. I'll think of the name of it. And
it's going to come to me at the end of this.
Well, Sean Penn was in it.
Yeah.
Harris. Oh, God. Anyway, I'm sorry if I'm talking too much.
No, that's the whole point of this is to hear you talking. So you carry on, sir, if you've got the time.
I love that phrase. That is a British phrase. Carry on. I love that
Hip, hip.
phrase. Hip, hip. No, we worked with a British crew in the war film Platoon Leader in South Africa. These guys, they were the best. They had each principal department, they brought Brits over, including the director of photography. And I don't know why they say the Irish drink. These guys could put away some serious booze, boy, especially the sound guy. I mean, he was last to go to bed and first on the set. And I don't know how the hell he did it. And I went, Jesus, the Irish, they couldn't stand that. You couldn't drink brandies like they're drinking Guinness. Anyway, they were wonderful people, and they did a hell of a job, I got to tell you. It's a wonderful crew. Really. I used to love it because they had an AD over there that said, piss off. When he wanted us to get off, he got us laughing so hard, got all the American kids laughing. So, all right, we're going to shoot now. Piss off. Get off. Get off the set. Piss off. And I was on the floor. Those kind of things I just appreciate. You learn how other people are thinking and looking at life. We would laugh. He knew we were laughing with him, not at him.
Yeah, big difference, isn't it?
Well, you know, somebody talking a little bit differently than the Americans to get the same effect. It was just interesting. But I've always enjoyed that, even since I was a little boy, how different cultures existed. As a little kid, that always grabbed me. How people were different in different cities and so different from the other people, just 100 miles away. I don't know why.
Yeah.
That always grabbed me as a little boy. I was like, wow, life's different. They talk differently. They act differently. Wow.
Yeah, that is true.
Well, it was interesting. It's like when people say, "How come you're an actor?" It's like, when did you decide? I never decided. I just knew I was going to go there.
Oh, cool.
I know that sounds an outrageous thing to say, but there was no sit down. What is my life? No, that did not occur. At a certain age, I announced it. I thought my father would go nuts.
Yeah.
I thought his Irish would go, "What the hell are you thinking?" Because he could be very strict. And so I graduated from military school when I was 17. I don't know if they graduated or they just said, "Get him the hell out of here."
Oh, dear.
But the only man-to-man talk we ever had is he took me out in the kitchen. "Actor, he said, you really want to do this? This could be difficult." And I went, "Yeah, I want to do it." He said, "All right, I'll support it." And he walked out of the kitchen. I stood there. He's absolutely agreeing. I stood there stunned. And I went, wow. I guess now that I've just graduated from high school at 17, okay, you're on your own now. And he said, "I'll support it." And he put me through school. I was like,
Nice.
well, when I started appearing in TV and what have you, I mean, that Irish heart melted. I got to tell you, he would love it. 'Cause he was a dentist.
Okay.
And I knew he'd be going to church on Sunday and they'd say, "Hey, Doc, we saw the kid, blah, blah." And although in our family he didn't brag, but I mean, I know he was just overwhelmed with joy that I wasn't bringing the police home. I was bringing something home of good nature. You know,
Right.
not that I caused a lot of police stuff. No, you know, I mean, I got in trouble a couple times growing up. Who doesn't?
Well, exactly. Who doesn't?
And I wasn't supposed to. So this was just thrilling for him and my mother that I could be doing television and he's getting the thing on. I mean, my brother, my sister, everyone's calling him. "We just saw Bobby on here." And it's like, okay, you know, I mean, it gave them something about me that nobody knew was kind of on the horizon. But I didn't sit down and say, "I'm going to do this." I just knew it was just like growing up. That's the next thing you do. After high school, you go and do your acting now. I mean, it was that simple.
Yeah. I guess so back then, yeah. So probably a lot more difficult now to break it, but
yeah. I should learn how to operate my computer better.
Technology does not always work as you expect it to do. But what do you like for action and stunts? Do you like to do your own stunts in some like platoon leader?
Would you say that again, Gareth?
Yeah. Do you like to do stunts or just leave it to the stuntmen if you ever have to do a scene like that? Like in Platoon Leader, you get blown up.
No,
Spoilers.
I have done a lot of my own throughout the years. But there's times when producers said, "No way, I'm going to get a stunt guy." Because on my first film, there was something that I wanted to do that was much more exciting than running out a door. I wanted to pick up a chair and break it through the window and dive through the window. He said, "You want to do that?" And he was the producer, writer, Stanley Niss was his name. Every idea I came up with, said, "You want to do that?" "Yeah, okay." And then he built a set for me to do something. He said, "You can do that." He said, "I got to get a stuntman." I said, "No, let me do it." He said, No, I want to get a stuntman. Unfortunately, and I was going to do it anyway, but then when it came time, I stopped. They put the stuntman in and he breaks the window. And then when I saw it on film, I said, "This guy doesn't look anything like me." And so it was, you know, he's got the same sweater on, but it doesn't look like me. God damn. I mean, it's like, come on. You know, those things would bother me if it wasn't like natural or convincing. And I shouldn't complain. I've got things where directors, I couldn't follow them. And I felt, I wasn't doing my kind of acting or my style. It was
Right.
workable in a better way, a more convincing way, and more believable. Because I got a couple things out there that just bothers me, because it was like that's not my standard. It just isn't. And anyway, those are the things you learn.
Okay, yeah, that's a shame. But, we mentioned Aaron Norris earlier, but you've done an episode of Walker, Texas Ranger with Chuck. Is that the only time you've worked with Chuck Norris?
I think I worked with him. I worked with him because Chuck, I said Aaron Norris did the platoon leader in South Africa.
Yeah.
Then his son, Mike, did a film, and I know Timothy Bottoms and I, another American actor.
Yep.
And Aaron had something with producing that. So that I did. I had met Chuck earlier. I don't know why, how, but I did. And
Okay.
then, so meeting Chuck, he's a really easygoing guy, a very nice man. In fact, the whole Norris family are terrific.
Oh, good.
Well, what people don't know is that Aaron was doing stunts for a long time, and he would do a lot of Chuck's stuff because he was really trained well.
Yeah, makes sense.
Martial arts. And he's a cool guy. I love working with Aaron. He was just, he'd say, okay, we'll do this, that, that. And I said, wait a minute, let me do it. He said, well, I said, come on, you got to have action in this, Aaron. All right, do it. So I said, it's motion picture, motion. If you want stills, go over there and let him take a single shot. This is motion picture. You got to have motion. I mean, you would think they would drive that home with actors. It's motion picture.
Keep it moving.
Well, the first thing was that train coming into a station. People couldn't believe it. They were screaming over what? Seeing a motion picture of a train coming into a station? And that was called motion picture. People don't realize that was what it was called, motion picture, and that was a big deal. In the Civil War, they didn't have motion pictures. Those are single shots. So the idea of motion was a tremendous concept of invention. My God, get things to move. Metal, that wasn't a horse. Come on, people, wake up. This has not always been here. These kids today, God damn, wake up.
Indeed.
It's called motion pictures for a reason. Do your homework. Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
It sounds so literal. But what is it? It's a motion picture. Picture in or of motion. I mean, it must have been unheard of.
Yeah.
The same thing as a car. A car, it actually moves. Yeah. There's no roads for it either. I mean, those people, that had to be rough to have the first cars, no roads. Just dirt. Damn. I don't know why people don't look at that and go, wow, you mean, yeah, that's right. There weren't roads. That's why they dressed that way. It's kind of a fascinating idea to look at those times and realize the inconvenience that people lived with. Wow.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking, I watched, was it Avenging Angel and Murphy's Law, where you're patrolling the streets at the beginning of it's just mid-80s LA, and you were really there with all the hookers and pimps and drug dealers. Was it as bad as it's portrayed in the films?
Is that what?
Is it as bad? Was the streets as bad as they're portrayed in the early 80s of the streets of LA? And
that's a great question, Gareth. And I don't know that they were that bad. I think the whole political scene has been so chaotic here for the last 15 years that I don't today, it's like America doesn't know what she's doing. They don't know which way to go. It appears that way politically.
Yeah.
To me, deliberately. I don't think that was going on back then. I think there were upsets and there were crimes and certainly drugs. But drugs were illegal in comparison to today. I mean, you got stores you can walk down and buy this.
That's true. Yeah.
When politicians are doing this so that there can be more money, I'm sorry, these guys they've lost their touch with the reality of making greatness or keeping the sanity. I'm not for that. I just think that's you there's just so much you can allow hordes of people in their ignorance do. I mean, now we've got that crazy stuff coming in from China and Mexico. It's killing tens of thousands of Americans, tens of thousands. And they leave the thing open. This, what the hell is it called? This latest stuff that they're, and they're overwhelming the border. It's sad that, to me, that shouldn't be going on. That should be halted and prevented at every stop. I mean, too many people, their children are dying because of this stuff that I forgot what the hell it. It's just the worst. And it doesn't take much to take a body out. So to allow the people breaking through and you don't know what they're carrying, if they can get that through, it's ugly.
Right.
That's just opinion.
Yep. No worries.
Might feel differently. That's the way I feel.
Yeah. Because
anyway, to answer your question, I do not think the drugs were that heavy at that time because they weren't legal.
Sure.
So forced people to be more underground with it, more careful with it, more covert or hidden. And I'm sure there were just as many accidents, or not quite many, but they certainly didn't get the press.
Right. Okay.
Current day, this new thing coming out. Yeah, it's very sad.
Yeah, unfortunately so, isn't it? It's happening over here as well. Drugs are a big problem here as well.
Really, on that crazy thing which they're accusing China of making it. What the hell is the name of it? It's got a crazy name. I think begins with N.
I'm not sure about that one.
Yeah, it's been all over the news, and but it's a killer. It's so much more deadly. This is the part I don't get. It's like, what do you have to do to these kids to convince them that it's dangerous?
Yeah.
It's just like, when it starts happening to big politicians and what, things will change. It's like, unfortunately, it's got to go into their world for them to get it that maybe things are really tough out there. Jesus Christ, wake up. You're supposed to be involved in the government that you are supposedly helping to create. Don't uncreate it, create it. Don't let the drugs in. Don't sell drugs. What the hell are you doing? I don't know. That's just my opinion.
Sure. Yeah, that's a shame. Because, going back, you did 3 films with Charles Bronson. I think.
Yeah, Charlie would ask for me.
Oh, cool. That's nice. Because, your parts got bigger each time, I see. Because you were in Death Wish 2.
That's when I met him. And but he had wanted me for another film earlier. And there's a British director that he and I did not get along with.
Oh, dear.
And Charlie was ticked off at him. Not because he had a lot of success here. Michael Winner was his name. And he directed the Death Wish films. And the funny thing about Michael was that if people pushed things on him, he would deliberately go and get somebody else. It's going to be his way. without knowing Bronson, he wanted me for a film, an iconic film called The Mechanic, that another younger Bobby Lyons type he gave me to.
Oh no.
Oh yeah, he did. And that was a great film, by the way.
Yeah, it is.
And I didn't get to do it. And Charlie, when I did Death Wish 2, I didn't want to do it because Michael directed it.
Sure.
And we got into an argument. Do you know that? I mean, I'm telling you the truth. We got into an argument. I didn't want to go because that was a very disappointing thing. Because I was doing a lot of leads in films at the time. And, he just was not, I don't know. He was riding on such success with Death Wish. I mean, that was such a smash. Are you kidding? And Bronson was back on top again, big time. And The Mechanic was well written. Where Death Wish, I got a little bit like, okay, Death Wish 2, please. I hadn't that much to do with it. But Charlie came down. That was 10 years later.
Okay. Yeah.
And Charlie came down to set and he said, "My God, you haven't changed in 10 years." First thing he says, I said, "Hey, Charles, yeah, good. I'm so glad you're here." Blah, blah, blah. So, and then when it came time to do Murphy's Law by that time,
yes,
he said, "No, get Bobby."
Nice. Yeah.
And Jill was his wife at that time, was producing, one of the producers. It caused all kinds of crap because, it was written one way and I thought the writing was good, and to keep it, and now they were changing it. And then I was brought in by a British director, J. Lee
Thompson.
Yes, wonderful man.
Oh,
He
cool.
called me. Well, I knew something was going wrong because he called me and he said, "There'll be no changes here, this, that." And I knew somebody wanted somebody else. That'll happen, Tim. The forces that be, but no one's going to go to Charles Bronson and say, "You can't have him." No one's going to do
Right.
that.
Okay.
Charlie's going to look at you and say, "Yes, you will get him." Yes, you will. If I say you're going to get him, you're going to get him. And nobody wants to confront that. So Charlie and I had the first scene of the first day, and we started walking down a flight of stairs at the mouth of a subway, an old subway here in LA. And there's a body. And the dialogue was me talking all the way down the steps, ding, 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 ding. And after the shot, Jay Lee comes to me and says, "You're going to be fine. You're going to be fine." And the scene was very good. I knew it was. So whoever said what they said to him, he's going, "What are you talking about? He's fine for this. He's perfect." So it's amazing. Like, you do well, and suddenly, what the hell are you talking about? He's doing very good here. But you see, sometimes a casting director or somebody else is dying to have their friend, their person, their choice. And there's the rub. And the king wins. That doesn't mean they like it. They don't go, "Oh, okay," and immediately accept it. But Jay Lee went, "You're fine." It's almost like he was saying, "I don't know what the hell they were talking about. You're going to be fine here. What was all that about?" So somebody really laid on him about me. And then he sees the acting and he goes, "What the hell are you talking about? He's perfect."
Yeah.
So some guys wake up fast. Well, the other guy didn't. Winner. We got into it.
Oh, yeah.
We got into it big time. I even got fired off of it. I was number 30 something to get fired.
Oh, yeah. I've heard that. A lot of people just doesn't get on with anyone.
I went right up to him. And because during the interview, I didn't want to take. What happened was so many people on the other film wanted me for it, and the producers, Aaron, a couple guys. And when he met me, his first comment to me was really, it was really one of those things you don't do. He walks in there and he goes, "Oh yes, you're the one with the reviews." And I thought, here's where I went wrong. I should have said, "Thank you for the interview," and walked. Because That is something he understood. When we got talking on the second interview, and he said, all right, who's here? He knew who I was. I mean, that's crazy stuff. And he's looking at me, making notes, and he's looking in my eyes. This actually happened, Gareth, I swear to God.
Okay.
And I thought he wanted to color my eyes. I said, green. And he went, green? What's green? And I said, my hair. Thinking he'd say, get out. And I'd say, fine. And he didn't. He quieted down. And he said, now, you're 5'9". No one can be bigger than 5'9". When you get on the set with Charles, and he's giving me the part, I just yelled at him. And I went, green. You moron. What would be green? You're looking at my face and making, what would be green? That's why I did what I did, because I figured, nuts with this guy. And if you approached him and gave him his gun that he gave you, he killed it.
Okay.
Well, what was interesting was this one thing was such a pretense that he would wear, and he would talk down to actors. It was unnecessary.
Yeah.
And, when Richard Harris came over to say hello, he happened to be in L.A. Oh, boy, talk about being buddy.
Oh, dear. Yes.
Well, they did a good film together as well, and they were friends. But, he's friends over there because Harris is there, it was interesting. He was intelligent, and he could be charming. And so I never understood this bullying actors and making them feel so bad about it. I wouldn't allow it.
No.
What happened was he would do things that were a little unnecessary. The morning call was to be on set at 8, and you did your scene was going to be for 3 hours in a graveyard, which is true. He'd still want you to be there at 8, just to be mean.
Yeah.
So I got there one time at the graveyard. I went to sleep up at the top. I said, well, my car's out of the way. And I knew where they were going to film down there. And I woke up, and the AD says he wants you to go through the scene. I said, oh, Jesus. I fell asleep waiting for them from the other location. And I heard on the walkie-talkie. He said, where's that actor? How long is it going to take? And he's talking about me. I had this my suit in the trunk. So in the graveyard, I'm changing clothes to get into the venereal effect. And he says, how long will it take you? And I went, 5, like with my hand. He said, 5 minutes. He says, fire him. And I'm not going to pay him. I went, that's it. I got in the car and I drove down to that part of the graveyard and I confronted him. I said, come here. You're going to pay me. Get your AD over here. I was the first one here at 8 o'clock. Well, I don't know this. I said, get him. I screamed at him. Get him over here. I'm signing out. I've been here first. You're paying. And Charlie says, well, Bobby, what's going on? I said, well, I told him what I just told you. I said, I've been here.
Yeah.
I'm not taking this nonsense anymore. And Jill said he had it coming. So, and then I heard the casting director, who I never saw because I wasn't hired through him, gave me an award. I don't know what number I was fired, but I was fired. I said, I don't care. I'm not, they're paying me. And then I had to see him again to do, you know what ADR is? Automatic dialogue.
Oh yeah, the dubbing of the
dubbing, right? I had to do some of that, and now I'm going, oh no, I got to see this guy, and this is going to be horrible. And I felt badly. I said, oh shit, here we go. And when I got there, he said, Robert, it's so good to see you. Come here, you're going to like this. It's going to be, and now he's got the charm and the interesting, and as though the other thing never happened. And I'm going, why aren't you like this? And so, what is it? You've got some wrong idea about what directors are, or British directors have to be in America. Somebody gave you bullshit, because that's not the way it has to be. And I was amazed. I mean, Charlie's right. He never asked for me again. And I think that was the point that Charlie was making. Is like, no, you can't do that. I've only had two or three directors in all the pieces that ever came on to me, and I had to handle them in a way that I don't like to do or prefer not to. But I will not be degraded.
Sure, yeah.
I will not take a degradation or someone lying about me. It's not true. You know, if you want to fire me for something I do, go ahead and fire me, but not based on a lie. I was here first. I was the first one here at this location while you were at the marina, having me here 3 hours early, not necessarily. Said, you're paying me all right. So, I mean, big deal. It's not that big a deal anyway.
Yeah.
It's just, you know, it's slightly degrading.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Can't go there. So anyway, that's one of the nasty stories, and fortunately, I have very few of those.
Oh, that's good to hear. But you also worked with Charles Bronson on Ted to Midnight because you were the killer's lawyer. And then how did you keep a straight face when Bronson's got that sex toy and he's confronting the killer with it?
Oh God. I forgot which sex toy was that. A masturbation machine?
Yeah, something. It was like that, a pump or something. Yeah.
Well, I don't know. That stuff was always. I always felt. I mean, I'm shaking my head now because they tried that in Murphy's Law, and I'll tell you what happened there.
Okay.
I don't know. I probably was just unnecessary. To me, that was shock value. They had
certainly
one of those things in Murphy's Law. Now, in Murphy's Law, I'm supposed to be Charlie's partner and detective, right? So that we're best of friends. And at one point, he hides out in my apartment. And there was a scene, and I remember sitting at home going, how the hell am I going to get this out of the film? I have been able to get things out of films and get things in that should be in films. Very tough stuff.
Yeah.
And that ugly toy or adult, it's not an adult toy. That's just insanity. That is somebody who doesn't know how to approach a woman. I don't know what you call that thing. But there was one where Bronson's character opens a drawer in my desk and pulls one out. And there's a thing about it.
Oh.
And I went down and we're talking about the scene. And I think Charlie's already picking up, I don't want to do this fucking thing. I don't want to do this. Wow, I'm sorry. I swear in here. I hope you
No, it's fine.
Get it out. Anyway, I said, guys, can I say something about this? And they said, what? I said, look, Charlie trusts me. His character trusts me with his life. He depends on me in this. I said, he opens a drawer and pulls this out, and then there's no follow-up on it. That's a big thing between people to find something is disgusting.
Yeah.
I said, now it falls on his character. And Charlie's just looking at me going, shaking his head. And I know he's thinking, oh boy, you're working this one. And they're looking at each other going, well, yeah, you're kind of right. I said, I don't see the purpose of it. We don't need this. It falls on his character because he doesn't take issue with me and being, he depends on me to help save his life. He goes, yeah, we don't need it. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, let's take it out. Yeah, okay, we'll take that out. And Charlie just looking at me. Yeah, it's like, good work, kid. You got it.
Yes.
You did what you had to do. But what I did is I put it on his character. So they're not going to argue with you. I'm gonna go. And Charlie just stood there. He didn't, and then I don't think he entered anything in. He was just observing. He really liked me. He kind of, I don't know. We didn't have much words. He just liked me, and he liked my work.
Yeah,
and
that's good.
And he wanted me around, and so did Jill.
Ah, that's nice.
Yeah, I mean, I got invites to their house and for parties. I mean, it was just wonderful. He just liked my work and wanted to know me because he was not a man of many words, and I was so relieved to get that out of the film. This disgusting thing that went nowhere.
Yeah, it didn't. It was not used. Yeah.
Well, it's like, guys, don't just throw something in that it's going nowhere. For what? It didn't have a purpose of progressing anything.
No.
You know, I could see that there are scenes where maybe something like that, but it would become a whole thing. You'd have to have intervention. He never brings it up again.
Yes.
And do you think he would trust me on an important issue again? That his friends got this insane kind of, anyway, I was putting in a character. And,
Sure.
Not just his character, but character. This is someone's character. This is what they do. Anyway. So I felt good that I got that out.
Yeah, nice.
I've had to do that a couple times, and I've won. I found ways of doing it that were true, one, and they followed my lead, and I was happy to get it out of the film. Out of the film totally. The film has already got enough stuff in it. It doesn't need this, which had progressed nothing of relationships or character or anything. Just let's throw a shock in just because.
Yeah, it would be just for no reason. Yeah, shock value, comedic value, but it makes no sense to the whole film.
None whatsoever. Worthless. A degrading kind of thing. So,
Yeah.
Anyway, I felt good about that. And I've done it a couple of times for different things, not quite as,
Yeah.
as dirty as that, but I got other things out that just didn't follow through on things. Talking to people. I said, well, it's your film, to one producer. I said, people are going to look at the intelligence that you are working this. I don't care what people are telling you to do your film, but I said, you got one thing to deal with. This goes nowhere. And he came to me 10 minutes later, another guy. I said, you know what? You're right. I'm taking that out of the film. I went, oh, you're smart. And I thought he was.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Validating him for it because, again, these things have nothing to do with the movie. Hell, I write. I don't, it's something I learned from Stallone, who I never met.
Okay.
Here's a film called Rocky. That when it was done, he had a hard time convincing them he was going to do it. They wanted to give him a lot of money. And he said no. He took much less money, but he held to his principles and he played the role. Everybody made millions and millions from that movie.
Yeah.
And the 5 or 6 others that came after.
Yes.
And he became a gigantic star. And not one F-bomb is in that first film. And you had all these street types, gangster types, no F-bombs said, not one. And I respected him, and I went, wow, he's showing and proving it doesn't have to be done. There are times when, yes, you want to hear it because it's right. But he's doing a street thing about guys that talk like that, and he left it out of the film. And you don't mind it. No one goes, there's no F-bombs. That's why.
Yes.
And I thought, wow, I learned something from the guy. I know his brother, Frank.
Yeah, you've done a film with Frank, haven't you?
I did, but before that, I taught him.
Ah.
Frank is a great singer. He's a wonderful voice.
Yeah, he's still touring now, isn't he? And doing albums.
Yeah. He kind of fell between the cracks of why his brother is who he is, but even Stallone, he talks about his music and how terrific it is. He says that's where he's great, but whatever. Yeah, no, Frank, that movie we did together, I thought Frank was the best thing in it. He played a maniac. No, he's not that. I didn't mean it to connect to that, but he was the best thing. I thought his acting in it was terrific. Anyway. Any other questions?
I just got one more before we wrap up because kept you a long time.
It's up to you, Gareth. It's up to you, whatever you want.
Well then, because I was going to ask, because of your long career, have you noticed a difference on how sets are these days in movies and TV shows compared to like the 70s and 80s and 90s, and then since the internet and mobile phones have come in, is there a change on sets you've noticed?
Well, there's a change because technology's gotten better. The lighting has gotten better. In television, in the earlier days, there were a lot of close-ups of heads. They were like cutting from close-up from head.
Okay.
The bigger I have a theory. Suddenly these sets are so big that one could do long shots. And people will have long shots on their TV sets, but the TV sets are wide enough and tall enough that now you can still see things. Just like a movie theater. Christ, I walk in Costco, they got movies. Who wants to put a TV set? I mean, your entire living room wall is a TV set. So that's going beyond necessity. But then some people like it, so that, at least they are making them. You can see it. That the sets are much wider, much more involved, and lit. Because the wider you make it, the more lighting has to be done, the more it's going to cost.
Right.
You get it? When it was black and white, they were just lighting. They were lighting it for black and white. Now color comes in. Bonanza was the first color television series.
Okay.
And they started to see, it's different. And when you had long shots, wire shots, TVs started to get bigger. That's the one thing that changed. But I thought the lighting in the beginning on a lot of those early shows was a little bit cheap in that they weren't worried about shadowing and so they had to get it done. And they did get it done. And they got it done. And we accepted it and we went on. They went from live TV to figuring out how to do it so that we could have greater control. So within that control, I think they grew up a little, and a lot of evolution was happening with just the knowledge of how to do it better, how to light it better, how to write it better, how to direct it better. So I think everything evolved. Until now, it's just, I don't know that there's any difference between movies and TV.
Well, yeah, some of the budgets anyway.
Oh, well, listen, when I was doing TV at Star, I mean, doing a movie, well, this is a movie, man. This ain't no TV. That kind of comment was still around. This ain't TV. It's like, hey, don't degrade me because I just got a nice job on a television show.
Yeah.
And like, but we're doing a movie. I mean, that attitude was there. And it helped to how they would negotiate paying you. This ain't no TV, this is a movie. So it was like, we're giving you money? Yeah. It's funny. They'll say anything to pay you nothing.
Well, yeah,
but they want your best work. Okay, pay me, then I'll give you 10% of my work. I'll give you what I could do for 10%. If you could talk to them that way, they still wouldn't understand because they know you won't do it. Who's going to deliberately do a bad job? You're going to be an idiot. No sense of pride. Anyway.
Okay. Okay. I think I got one more question.
Sure, listen, it's as long as you want.
Okay. Well, because you've done all the big TV shows these days as well, because you've done Cold Case, Criminal Minds, Law and Order LA,
Yeah.
and
Did those later on.
yeah, and then Magnum, PI, Automan, Knight Rider, Freddy's Nightmares, stuff like Murder She Wrote, Simon and Simon, Chips, Falcon Crest, Fantasy Island, Incredible Hulk, and I see 2 musical TV shows, The Monkees and Cop Rock. Did you do any singing in those?
No, I think they auditioned me for Cop Rock, but realized that ain't gonna fly. Monkeys happened to be people. Some people think that was a group they picked up. Screen Gems made that group. Those were 5 individuals they brought together.
Right.
Or 4, and they were auditioned the same time as myself and 5 other kids, and we all got taken at the same time under Screen Gems. And the whole point was that they were trying to redo the stable, make a stable. In other words, they had us for low cost, but if we did a series, they got us by the short hairs, and then we would be groomed by them. Well, they picked the things because I saw the screen tests of the other 5 of us and all 4 of the picked Monkeys guys, including Davy, the British kid.
Yeah.
David Jones.
Davy Jones, that's him, yeah. I was trying to think Davy. I knew it was Dave, yeah.
Davy Jones, yeah. There's only one, Mickey Dolenz, the only one left.
Yes.
The others are gone, unfortunately. So that was in the late 60s, middle to late 60s. Only a couple of them stayed on for the series, Bridget Hanley and J.D. Peeger and the Monkeys. The rest of us, I think, I got a pink slip in 6 months.
Oh, okay.
Jackie Cooper was the head of Screen Gems. Screen Gems was a subsidiary of Columbia, and they were trying to bring back the stable because they had all those half-hour hits. I dreamed Genie, Flying Nun.
Yes.
I did a Western for them that lasted only a short time called Iron Horse, which is what the Indians used to call the trains.
Right, yes.
Apparently, that's what they were selling anyway. And I did one of those. That was a half hour with Dale Robertson, who was a big movie star years ago, good-looking man. He's a nice guy. So you would have thought that they would have gotten me onto something like that, which I was right for. I mean, I had done Gunsmoke, Bonanza, blah, blah, this, that.
Yeah.
But 6 months, they were throwing me out the door. I went up and banged on Jackie Cooper's desk. I said, how come? You said 5 years. We signed a contract for 5. And you said at least 2. He said, come on, listen. If you need some stuff there, I'll take care. I said, no, it won't work. All I cared about then was working. And here we were on the lot. It was just as hard to get a job while you're working on the lot, being paid.
Okay.
It was just as hard to get a job as it was if you weren't on the lot. I'm not kidding you. In fact, I got a part over at Paramount where they were shooting this new series called High Chaparral, which was a spin-off of Bonanza.
Okay.
My ex-roommate and friend that I went to school with, Mark Slade, he got the lead of a character named Blue on High Chaparral. And Dort Tort, who was the producer of both those shows, Mark was to do a Bonanza where there were twin brothers. Now, we don't really look alike, but there is something similar about it. And he convinced Dort Tort to meet me. So we went in and did a scene together. Now, I was under contract with Screen Gems, and he went, you guys are great. You've got the part. Because he knew he wanted to keep Mark going, keep him alive in the audience's mind.
Right.
And yeah, that's what they do. They use their own. He knew he was going to be doing a series called High Chaparral, so he gave him a part in Bonanza. And then Screen Gems wouldn't let me do it. I cannot tell you how destroyed I was. Felt so bad. I had to go back to the studio, and Millie Gussie says, "No, you can't do it. You're doing Dale Robertson's show. I cannot let you out of that contract because you're not done. If they need you or call you back in, you won't be available. We cannot do it." I had to tell Dortort, who is the producer of Paramount, "I can't do your show." He said, "Don't you worry, kid. I'm going to hire you. You will do one." I went, "Okay." He said, "Stop by and say hello once in a while." So I did, and I wound up getting one. So I took him at his words. But there's, each one of these things, there's so much story to what an actor goes through to get a simple guest star role on a show, even a lower than a guest star.
Yeah.
I had an agent from William Morris at the time. He saw me over there, and he screams, "How dare I go to the producer and make a pain in the ass of myself?" And this, and I'm like, "You don't understand anything." I said, "He told me to stop by." So now I look like a liar. It was true that he said, "Stop by." So I took him for his word. If a producer director said, "Stop by," I'm going to stop by.
Well, exactly.
I'm not asking an agent, "Is it okay, Mommy? Can I go to the store now?" It's like, "David, get lost. Don't worry." It's true. I do things a little bit. I've gone beyond the range. When I did Magnum, you mentioned Magnum a minute ago.
Yes.
I cannot tell you what we went through for me to get that part.
Ah.
Cannot tell you. It's like, wow, what you have to go through sometimes to get it. It's even casting directors who have hired you or seen you in one role, you think they know your work. They only know one thing about you. They saw you in a show and they think that's you.
Oh, okay.
So then they don't see the capability. You see, we started this conversation off by, you don't even look like the same guy. There are very few guys who can change even what their mugs look like. Gary can. I did it.
Yeah.
There was an actor years and years and years ago. What the hell was his name? I thought of that when I was a young guy. I said, "Boy, I want to be able to do what he can do." And he was famous for doing roles that were so different than himself. And I thought, that's the way to go. Well, it's the way to go.
Yeah.
If you don't do a smash hit, they don't know it's you. You can have a movie that does well, but it has to be an over-the-top smash hit for them to recognize that's you. You got to do Winston Churchill. You know what I mean?
Yes, indeed.
And all of England, I am sure, saw that film at least once. At least once.
Oh, yes. Very patriotic.
And they even used an American actor to do it again, an actor I worked with, John Lithgow.
Oh, yes.
He played Winston Churchill on something, on a movie, a television show.
Yeah, I'm trying to think what it was now. I remember him doing that.
He was pretty good.
He was. Honorary Brit.
Well, he looked more like it. I don't think he had to do a 4-hour makeup thing to get the jowls that Gary did.
Yes, Gary had the jowls.
Gary's my size, they're 40 pounds. They had to really put some stuff on this guy, to get him up to Churchill, who I love, by the way. I love to read his quotes and things. He was a rascal, that guy.
Yeah, he was. So speaking of TV, because back then you also did the same TV show but different parts. So like Incredible Hulk, Chips, and the FBI. You had 2 or 3 different parts over the period the shows were running.
I did 2 Hulks and I did 2 Chips.
Yes.
Isn't that funny? Now you can't do the same show twice.
I know, I bet, because people, once it was on TV, it's pretty much gone by then, hasn't it? Unless there was a rerun, but yeah. So they probably weren't expecting anyone to notice. I
know, it's crazy. Yes, I did 2 of each of those. I love those shows. The writing was very good on the Hulk.
Yeah, it was very
there were 2 gals who were writing those, and they were excellent.
Okay.
Producer writers.
Right.
No, they were nice, good gals.
Oh, nice. Okay, I'm gonna have one more question because it's getting close to midnight here.
Really?
Yeah, it's gone 25 to midnight. Not 10 to midnight, but near enough. So you've played good guys and bad guys. Do you approach those roles differently, or do you have a favorite you'd like to play? Like to be the bad guy?
No, no. I like good parts. I don't care what they
Cool.
are. I'm going to make it into something anyway. I don't know. It took me a while to realize I'm adding what I'm adding to the part. It wasn't in the page. It's the way I see it on the page. Some people are not crazy about the way I work, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
It's just that most people I know, they can't believe I'm me. I'm the guy that goes and brings to those roles. Actually, when you play a good guy, there's even that I had to find ways to bring an excitement to the part. That's why I mentioned that character of Rookies.
Yes.
Which turned out to be a hit series for 5 years. They wanted me to go on, and Aaron got ticked off. He didn't hire me for 10 years because I didn't take the series, and I would have been the lead in the whole series. Well, my character got killed in the original, which was an hour and a half film.
Right.
And it doesn't matter. If they want you, they'll rewrite you in as a twin, or you didn't really die.
Yeah, they did that a lot, didn't they, back then?
Yeah, no, they can do anything they want. And they found out it doesn't matter. Audiences will say, well, he got killed. They go, yeah, well, so what? He's back. I mean, they exhumed him or some shit.
Yes.
Well, it's just interesting. There's a bit of a regret there. I should have admitted it. I should have said, yeah, okay, I'll do it. It would have paid extremely well for the time. And there's nothing wrong with that. When you're working 5 days a week and your weekends are just learning the part for the next week, I got to tell you, people think, oh, being an actor, it's a lot of work. These are long hours. And if it had been a regular job, I wouldn't have been able to stand it. But if it were a film or television show, I could stand it.
Right.
I loved it.
Okay.
Hours meant nothing. It just meant more creative. Yeah, we got tired. You get that. I'm not being ridiculous.
Yeah.
But the thrill of doing it and the excitement of knowing you can do it, once you hit a certain standard and you can produce that every time, you're just having fun. Or Jackie Cooper used to say, this beats work, kid. And I thought that was great. Yeah, it did. This beats work, huh, kid? Isn't that a great way to look at it? It beats work. I used to love that.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah,
well,
it is.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to wrap this up if that's all right with you.
Yeah, no, Gareth, I've enjoyed this. I really enjoyed talking with you.
Yeah, it's been amazing hearing the stories. I'm glad we finally got together.
Yeah, I hope it's good for you.
Yeah, it's amazing.
All right.
Exactly what I wanted. And more.
All right.
So, yes, okay. I will wish you goodbye and good luck.
Thank you very much.
Right.
I hope some British friends get to see this.
Yeah. I'm sure if they see your name on the internet, they'll look it up.
I don't know. There's an actor there. His name is Greg Smith.
Right.
He actually studied with me over here. It was interesting that so many people are sneaking into America, and yet he and gal, Louise Collins was her name, wonderful actress that studied with me, but then they had to return to England. I said, for Christ's sake, you got people sneaking in every day, and you're going to toss you out if you don't leave, and you're Brit? For Christ's sake. It's just absurd. Absurd. It's like, wow. All right.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you again.
Yeah. Nice meeting you.
And you said
it enormously. Yes.
So did I. All right. Well,
All right.
I wish you a good day or good afternoon, as it probably is there now, isn't it? Or good evening.
Yes, it's late, but that's good. Listen, you have a good sleep.
I'll try.
Yeah, thanks again. I've thoroughly enjoyed this.
So did
Gary.
I.
Really nice meeting you, really, man. And I hope we can talk sometime else.
Well, yes, I will certainly hold you to that now.
Anytime. I have no problem with it. I do interviews for books and everything. I love it.
Okay. I'll definitely check you out again. All right, then.
Good.
Thank
I
you.
have a new friend. I love having another friend over there.
Yes.
Very good.
Someone in the future. All right.
Yes. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
All right. Good night. Bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. There we go. So that was it. So thanks for everyone for joining me. And Jeff and Professor and Matt and Mike. So yeah, I'm going to get to bed. So until next time, gentlemen, thank you for joining me. Here endeth the lesson.